Why do you care?
Yeah.
What business is it of yours to require that I fulfill your inability to think of gender on a spectrum?
And this entrance says girls, and this entrance says boys. It's like, what the fuck? What? Or they'll mix and match that in whatever way
Neil,
you want.
Sorry.
Hold on. I'm not, wait, I'm almost done.
Watching Tyson in that studio felt less like an interview and more like a controlled explosion. The kind that blows the mask off a culture war and shows how hollow it really is. The so-called gotcha questions from the hosts didn't expose him. They exposed the obsession of people who'd rather police identities than solve real problems. And what unfolded wasn't science versus opinion, it was freedom versus control dressed up as moral concern.
One of your functions over time has been to communicate scientific knowledge to the public.
Yeah.
And that's why I was quite surprised to hear you talk about the idea that we all exist on a spectrum where you wake up one day and you...
The XXXY chromosomes are insufficient because when we wake up in the morning, we exaggerate whatever feature we want to portray the gender of our choice. Suppose no matter my chromosomes, today I feel 80% female, 20% male. I'm gonna put on makeup. I'm gonna do that. Tomorrow I might feel 80% male. I'll remove the makeup and I'll wear a muscle shirt.
Was that if who you decide is male and female in the street is a construct of style and trends and what the beauty industrial complex wants you to see.
The first clash hit like a spark. The host jumped in with the usual chromosome routine like they were about to educate Neil deGrasse Tyson on biology. What Tyson did was flip the whole thing sideways. Like, he didn't argue on their narrow turf. He zoomed out and hit them with the real question. Why do you care? And honestly, that's the line that burned through the noise. Like, because once you ask that, the debate isn't about genes anymore. It's about obsession. Why some people feel entitled to police, like how strangers live their lives.
If that's how we establish gender, then maybe some people want to be fluid within that gender identify. So they'll wear a skirt, but maybe have a beard, or they'll mix and match that in whatever way
Neil,
you want.
Sorry.
Hold on. Wait, I'm almost done.
Okay.
If a person using the tools of the beauty industrial complex wants to mix and match this,
Yeah.
and they are expressing their freedom in a free country to do so, why is your job to tell them not to?
Here's the thing. Gender expression has always been shaped by culture. Fashion trends, beauty standards, the little ways people signal identity. Tyson's point was simple. If someone wants to mix and match those tools, beard and skirt, eyeliner and muscle shirt, that's their right in a free country, Doris. So when people lose their minds over it, it says less about biology and more about control.
I don't know a single person who wants to prevent people from dressing how they want or behaving how they want or choosing any name that they want. However, the problem is...
So you don't, but you know such people are out there.
I'm sure such people exist in the same way that there are people who believe that the earth is flat and so on, but they're a tiny minority.
They exist.
It is
I don't
not
know how tiny they are.
If you are female, you get to go to places that only other females are in, like changing rooms and toilets and so on. If you are female...
Privacy isn't a political ideology, it's a design choice. You want safety? Build stalls with real doors. You want dignity? Create single user spaces. New York already does this without the sky falling, so why are we still pretending this is an unsolvable crisis? The truth is, when people push the bathroom panic button, what they're really saying is they'd rather police identities than fix infrastructure.
Personal changing spaces, okay? That's a solvable problem, of course. And we basically have accomplished that here in Manhattan, where I live. Practically all bathrooms are either multi-gender or solo bathrooms, so only one person at a time, or you walk into a space and there's stalls that are closed off, but then you exit the stall and you come to a communal sink, okay?
Yes.
So it's a solvable problem.
When they pulled the bathroom card, Tyson treated it like a design problem, not a moral apocalypse. He basically said, want privacy, close the stall, want safety. You kite, build one-person rooms, want hygiene, keep sinks in common spaces. He didn't need to moralize, he just spoke common sense. And I agree, because sometimes people act like a single person walking into a restroom will bring societal collapse. That's fear theater, not policy, and honestly, the only thing collapsing is the credibility of people still making bathrooms their battleground.
Personal changing spaces, okay? That's a solvable problem, of course. And we basically have accomplished that here in Manhattan, where I live. Practically all bathrooms are either multi-gender or solo bathrooms, so only one person at a time, or you walk into a space and there's stalls that are closed off, but then you exit the stall and you come to a communal sink, okay?
Yes.
So it's a solvable problem where we had urinals just lined up on a wall that was a little more private, and now those urinals have little small but real dividers, so you're not like looking over. So there are solutions to the privacy problem, and we've all but solved that here. I can't speak for every state in the United States, definitely here in New York City.
Tyson nailed it by dragging history into the room. Yesterday's common sense gave us separate school doors, trough urinals, even segregated fountains, all defended as normal, all absurd in hindsight. Back then, people swore those setups made sense, but today we shake our heads at how short-sighted it all was. Privacy and dignity aren't culture war battlefields, they're design choices, and if we can fix school entrances and urinals, we can damn sure fix bathrooms without turning it into a national crisis.
Because females are at a disadvantage in physical competition to males in almost every sport. In other words, we carve out certain areas where your sex matters tremendously, even though we may respect your right everywhere.
And then came the so-called knockout punch, sports. The hosts rolled out the usual checklist: bone density, lung capacity, testosterone, as if Tyson hadn't thought about this 1,000 times. But instead of taking the bait, he reminded them that fairness in sports has always been engineered. Wrestling split by weight, rowing split by size, boxing split into classes, because we know one category doesn't fit everyone.
Okay, she was genetically female, but unusually high testosterone levels, and so that weirded everybody out. So I'm wondering whether the future of those sports is you don't contest gender with gender, you contest hormone ratios. 90-pounder. So a wrestling match is not just this one person against the other person, it's 10 matches. And each one is intensely interesting because they are matched to resolve the problem because more than one category of person wanted to compete. So I agree with you, it's an unsolved problem, yes, but it's not unsolvable given what we know about human physiology. So why not rise to that occasion and solve it rather than take your older view of the world and force modern emergent conduct of people to fit that.
Tyson's challenge was simple. Stop whining about who belongs in which lane and start designing better rules. Hormone levels, puberty history, physiology. Measure it, test it, build fair categories. That's how science works. And honestly, his point hit hard. If we already redesigned sports for fairness, why is this the one line we suddenly pretend can't be crossed?
There is. Why were women underrepresented to begin with? What kind of bias exists within Parliament or among the voters, maybe even the female voters, that prevented the representation from being there in the first place? That's a whole other social question that maybe can and should be answered at a deeper level than a quote.
The moment quotas came up, you could feel the hosts gearing up for their gotcha, but Tyson didn't play defense. He went straight for the jugular. Why were women underrepresented in the first place? And he's right. Quotas aren't the disease. They're a band-aid slapped on a broken system. If the field was fair from the start, you wouldn't need them. Fix the field, and the whole panic over who gets in collapses instantly.
Say it's an unfair playing field, so all of a sudden the big issue is trans women taking the slot of a woman in an unfair playing field. Fix the playing field, and you know something? The day you fix that playing field, this conversation will look completely ridiculous.
Tyson's last word was blunt. Fix the damn system. Don't cry about fairness while the field is still broken. Level it, and the outrage disappears overnight. And that's the sting. This was never about fairness. It was always about control, and Tyson left them no place to hide. So, do we let fearmongers keep dragging us backwards, or do we start building fair systems that move everyone forward?